They're not in the box anymore. We're the Underworld Collectors? I don't know. Who are we? My name is Stankus, and I do videos with my buddy Matt.
Matt Strange.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Count Stankus, Matt Strange, back again for another video review. I've been doing videos on YouTube for a little over 10 years now. And prior to that, doing a thing called a blog, MySpace. Talking about toys, trying to keep the historical benefit of toys at the helm of life for everybody to enjoy and to absorb it and I know pass it on for generations and generations. Matt here, met him years ago.
What are the actors' names for the principal crew? We've got the Big Lebowski, played by... He and I were buddies online talking about action figures without even knowing each other in real life. We just had a shared passion for action figures.
Yes.
And I'm making it weird. But anyway, again, without going into the details, suffice to say that at a work event for the company that I was working for, this fellow was actually helping out at, unbeknownst to me, and he saw me and was like, dude, I know you, and we struck up a friendship, and ever since then I've been hanging out and making toy videos and blowing up
That's right.
little dollhouses in the background. I'm making that up. Anyway, you get the idea.
MySpace started a thing called a blog where you type out basically a book report, and I got really sick and tired of typing out all this stuff. And so my YouTube channel, it was a shortcut for me not to have to type a bunch of crap out and put it onto my MySpace page.
Hi, here we are with my, I guess my first video blog, whatever it is that you would like to call it.
When I first started,
We'll
it
adventure
was
through my
called the
little
Toy Room of Insanity, my videos. And those were just generic videos for me. They were. Now they've kind of changed over the years. My Toy Room of Insanity videos, which is what I call this place, have become more something special to me, which I only do maybe 4 in a year. I think I average that now. Because I want to have something like that I think, not that I don't think, you guys don't think, but I think is really, really special.
Of course, over the years, there were some other play sets that were created by other toy companies that were very mountainous, like the Fantasy Forest or Fantasy Fortress play set.
We did a video about mountain toys, which was, it's a weird thought I have. It turned out to be pretty awesome. But those videos are meant to be, in our opinion, or
those are like proper investigative videos.
They're very investigative and a bit epic, and I think entertaining, and I've gotten great response from it. It's a lot of fun.
They're also less impromptu. They're more scripted.
Very scripted, actually, pretty much all scripted. They're meant to be, I guess, historic, informative, and just bringing maybe stuff that people have forgotten about from over the years of toy collecting. Like, this is something awesome. So there's that, the Tournament of Insanity. But I started doing a thing called Underworld. This was meant to be a breakaway from that, so I can just do a video. Going to a different thrift stores, savers, places like that, and I think a lot of people really enjoyed that, seeing those different things. And other people do it as well. But we took it to a different level, and Matt really joined in. He already did some videos with me before that, but he joined in, and we did Underworld Collectors, and we had a whole intro created with a song. We do a lot of weird things, and that's more of us being a little more freer, non-scripted. It's really non-scripted.
There's a risk and reward. The more scripted you expect, the more informative. With Underworld Collectors,
yeah,
you don't know what you're gonna get. We might be dipping into the sauce one night hard.
And it is true. There is a papercraft video that we did for the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon.
This
pretty easy.
This set sucks.
Now listen up. I know you have a tequila bottle in there somewhere. Where the hell is it?
put together.
We're getting it
It's
done,
horrible.
but it's a hard way.
Yeah, we're getting it done.
So
We're not alcoholics. We we have fun, enjoy ourselves. But we did have a video with the papercraft where we did drink a lot, and I leave it up there because it was pretty funny. In my opinion, it's funny. And don't take offense, please don't. But I think it was a lot of fun.
Action Quest Theater.
Well, this is just great. Was your plan to have us escape that monstrosity by getting us lost in the far reaches of space?
Quinn, will you shut up already? Hooper, check the Bacchus again. See if you can reroute power from the positional thrusters to the comms relay. On it!
Action Quest Theater is this epic thing that wasn't meant to be epic. But what do we say it derived from?
I think the original idea was to kind of pull from Toy Fair's Twisted Amigo.
Twisted Amigo Theater.
Which they changed the name to Twisted Action Quest. Or
Yeah.
Twisted, whatever it's called.
It doesn't exist anymore, but yeah, some of you might remember that. But that was a cool thing, and we had done Action Quest Theater Part 1 with Star Wars figures, and it turned out to be this epic, very challenging thing for us to film. Now, we're not the super incredible guys that can film movies in our sleep, but this is quite challenging.
You're not.
But we've done Part 1, 2, and 3. It's on my YouTube channel. Check it out. And the last thing that we do on my channel is I do a live show, but it's called Collector's Dungeon. It's a live show I do with my buddies from the Collector's Dungeon crew, and we talk about toys and show off our pickups, our newest things we bought, and just laugh at each other and talk toys.
I remember being in 6th grade and thinking, specifically the thought that one day I would grow up and I would no longer collect toys, and I was profoundly sad. I remember actually having this like profound thought.
I think
that like
one 6th grade was the year.
One day I would get older and I would grow out of this, and that filled me with such sadness. And
the girls was a part of this, though.
well, sure, whatever, but like I got older and it just never kind of really went away. Crazy anecdote. So the question is, how long have we been collecting toys for? I'm saying 1976 because that's when I was born here. When I was a kid, one of my first Star Wars figures that I ever had, I had the 14-inch tall Kenner Darth Vader, and my parents would take away the lightsaber because they were afraid that I would choke myself or poke myself in the eye, and like Star Wars,
or murder your parents at night,
or that whole thing. But they literally took it away from me because it was like, kid's not old enough. He can't handle the power of the lightsaber.
Can't handle the power.
I lied to my parents. I told them as a little kid. I must have been like 5 years old, and I told them that I had lost the lightsaber so that they wouldn't ask for it back because they would let me play with it for a little while, and then they would put it back in the bookcase, and I'd have to ask for it back. And I didn't like having to surrender the lightsaber to my parents, so I lied to them. I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I lied to them. And was like, I'm sorry, I've lost the lightsaber. And they were like, this is why,
son of a mother.
This is why we can't let you have lightsaber. And you know what? At my place, I still have that original Darth Vader
With the lightsaber?
and that same lightsaber.
Being a part of the 70s, I had an older brother, was able to jump on the bandwagon of the original G.I. Joes from the 70s, not the ones from the 60s, but the 70s. Big Jim, also Mego. And the specific day when I became a collector. And this is straight up. Don't have a date, but I have a memory. Sitting in front of our front door, and we had the Death Star on the floor, and we're playing with our Star Wars figures, Death Star, and my parents were there, and they told us, they said, your figures, these things are going to be collector's items one day. Take care of them, and yada, 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 whatever. At that point, we had been taking our toys in and out of the house. From that day on, we never took them outside again. Never. They stayed in the house, stayed pristine, didn't lose any weapons. Yeah,
was
right.
it just them telling you that, or was it something that clicked?
No,
inside?
that was it. Clicked for me.
But why though?
OCD.
Was it like they just told you it's gonna be worth something, or how did it?
Collector's item. That was it. Ching.
Okay.
And knowing Star Wars, this is Star Wars. I mean, again, I'm not saying Episode 4. I'm not saying A New Hope. I'm saying this is Star Wars, because that's how we thought of it back in the day. And having that stuff, we knew it. There was that vibe, and that was it from there.
You have quite a few of your original things, just like I do, from when you were a kid.
I have right there.
Which is like
every figure.
Like that's, I think, not to hoard this, but like I think that's part of the reason why we get along so well, is that the fact that we naturally had a kind of similar outlook on things, and we trip out because it's like you meet tons of people. It's like, oh yeah, I had Star Wars or I had G.I. Joe or whatever, but they just blew them up in the backyard. They lost the stuff in the backyard.
No, that would never have happened. Every toy I got, we kept pristine, and I wasn't playing with them anymore. Especially when G.I. Joe, the 3 3/4 inch came in, and He-Man came in. I set up dioramas. I didn't play with them. I set up dioramas in my mom's living room. My mom's nice living room where you couldn't wear your shoes, and the living room that only company was allowed into. She let me go out there.
Living room, not that I knew.
And I would set great stuff up. It was just for fun. I would look at it. I never played with my toys.
If you were lucky,
all for fun.
the 1970s couches had that nice earthy tone. You make that perfect like Eternian.
Oh, you make caves and weird stuff out of your couches. But going to when I was 20, I met my wife in 1994. And when she showed me the toys she had when she was a kid, besides Barbies, but she had Robotech and Thundercats, things like that. And then I was like, oh my God.
That's a trip.
And,
that's a keeper.
And then I was like, okay, I'm taking you back to my house to show you the stuff in my parents' garage. All my old stuff, pulled it out. That's when the collecting really started for me. We started hitting all of the toy shows and you name it. 1994 is when I guess you can say 78 became a toy collector, but really 1994 is when it really
My
kicked
wife
in.
doesn't collect toys. The most valuable thing for me is the dual setup of the original Kenner 12-inch Indiana Jones, complete with pistol, whip, and hat, and all of his equipment, all that jazz, right next to a Polaroid that was taken of me Christmas morning of 1981.
I think so, yeah.
Where I'm sitting at my grandma's house, sitting at my grandma's house, like just doing this like cool pose with the Indiana Jones.
For me, there's 2 things that are in this room. One of them is the Star Wars Underworld kit, the 4 figures, right? I still have the Luke. That's a cool thing. I would probably put that my number 2. But I think the number 1 thing that is my grail, and it does hold value to it. It does, is the removable cowl Meagle Batman that came out in 1972. Again, I was not born in 72, born in 74, but I have very fond memories, believe it or not, when I was 2 and 3 years of age. Playing with that figure, I loved taking off the cowl and playing with Batman. I knew it was Batman, I knew who Robin was, but I love that removable cowl Batman. That thing, it's not my original one, it's right up over here, and I love that figure. That's probably my all-time favorite figure, I think. I'm pretty sure it is of all time. That's my grail.
You know, this is, in a way, having a physical record of these things that brought us joy. It's kind of a physical photograph of this experience in our lives.
Yeah.
It's not like we're trying to escape from present or reality or like that. You know, I mean, I think that's kind of the question. Like, what is it about the passion?
It's our experiences and
it's a little bit
all the
fantasy.
fun stuff that we had when we were kids.
Yeah.
You know, memories of our family from the back in the days,
Sure.
and you name it. That's one of the things that too many kids nowadays, we're going in a weird direction, by the way. So many kids nowadays, their memories are going to be video games. Nothing wrong with that.
Hey, I like video games.
Nothing wrong with that. But that physical thing, that toy, the action figure, is going to be lost. The stuff behind me, the Mego stuff, that goes back to the 90s. I spent a lot of time doing that. But right now, I mean, I still look at Mego stuff. As far as new vintage Mego stuff, that's hard. The stuff that I want is pretty rare, like a red-haired Dracula from the Mego days, the original Mego days. But nowadays, I do collect the new Mego stuff that's out, the resurgence of Mego, I do. Getting back into the bootleg knockoff stuff more and more and more, because I'm drawn to that because it's so weird and out there, and not everybody had it, and it has a charming essence to it. Like this guy RoboCop over here. This is
a charming.
This is a.
I'm gonna get cancer in my fingers from holding.
This is a knockoff RoboCop that came from Mexico. This is not. So you don't play. These guys are a little bit different. But the bootlegs that came from Mexico and other different countries are really awesome. The bootlegs are different than knockoffs. We have Warlord from Remco right here. This guy right here. This is what I'm talking about. The stuff that came out in the 80s, even 70s, there's so much weirdness that came out back in those days. It just doesn't get enough respect, but does hold some high value to it.
He has a zebra cape, dude.
He does, but he's pretty cool. This is a DC character, by
I mean,
the way.
I think he's cool, but he has a zebra
This guy's
cape.
actually an astronaut, and it's a long story, but he's too cool. Your run-of-the-mill figures like He-Man, G.I. Joe, they were expensive. So that's why you had a lot of these knockoff and bootlegs that came out here in the United States and different countries, because families could buy them. They were affordable. Remco, Warlord figures, gotta have them. And Imperial Dragons, Imperial Toys, awesome, good stuff.
Warduke collects primarily older, vintage, retro stuff.
Mostly.
I have made my fight with the newer stuff. And I think that's
Yeah.
another reason why our collection tendencies kind of complement each other. We've both been swayed both ways. I sometimes collect older, he sometimes collects newer, but our compasses kind of gravitate towards those, respective ranges where he sticks with the older stuff and I stick with the newer stuff. And I'm at peace with that. I definitely love the older vintage stuff. I mean, you have to respect that. But take, for example, like the new Hasbro, the Vintage Collection Star Wars stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It captures for me some of the elements of what I loved about the original line, which is the great card art. I think that the card art itself, just like album art, has its own discipline that you can kind of get into. It's like, this is why this is the superior card art for an action figure.
This guy is more into the newer stuff with the vintage look to it.
Right.
So to make you understand, at one point in time, he had all the original 12-backs carded. He does not have them anymore.
Not quite.
Because he got rid of them.
I got so obsessed about the quality and the state of the condition of my vintage stuff, the bubbles started actually yellowing a little bit. And I didn't like that feeling of being like trapped by it. So I got rid of them, and that's what kind of freed me, is I could buy the new stuff and have fun with it. That's just me. Collecting itself, the actual aspect of putting something on a shelf, is almost kind of like a totem for something that's deep.
Yeah.
I mean, I really truly believe that. I'm not trying to like make that up. I mean, I see this stuff, and in my own eyes, it's kind of like an augmented reality kind of thing. They come to life on the shelf, I see the movie come to life.
For me, that's a big chunk. The first thing I can put for myself is me, or we were lucky enough to grow up when we did and experience what we did with the different TV shows and cartoons and toys that we had. And if I can go back in time and live back in those days, I would do it. It'd be kind of hard to do without my wife and my daughter, but I would love to go back in time and just live there and just stay there. I loved those days. We had a lot of great pop culture back then for me.
And to the questions, like, what's the ultimate goal of collecting? Is perpetuating the spirit, to just, at a kind of shallow level, to say that, like, oh, we collect because it makes us happy. That doesn't really answer the question. So
I mean,
it's kind of a nebulous question.
The ultimate goal of collecting is not really how far can you get. I started doing this because of my experience when I was a kid, and I'm going to keep on doing it to keep that torch lit, because I believe that what we experienced when we were kids was just so awesome. I'm going to keep on doing it. The ultimate goal is to keep it going, and the vintage stuff, even new stuff, is cool. There's a lot of really cool new toys out there, but especially the old stuff is just to keep it going, keep that imagination going, keep it thriving. Don't play too many video games, damn it. Play with your toys.